Hello friends, welcome to Coding Garden with CJ. Welcome to an episode where I will show you how I set up a React Typescript and hooks application. I'm also going to talk about all of my preferred and favorite things to use with React and TypeScript. So this is going to be fun. And yes, this is a TypeScript stream. Hello Zishan, welcome. Hello Valter. Hello Noel, hello Zuhaib, hello Ben, who is excited for TypeScript. And Robin says, I was actually thinking of starting TypeScript with React. Well, I'll show you what I've found, and you can maybe decide if that's something you'd like. And you're welcome, Mahidra. Hello and welcome. And hello, Gabriel. Welcome. Hello, Evil Pisces. Hello, Ben Aaron Dahmer. What's up? Hello, Ed. Hello, Julian. Hello, Oscar, I guess. Hello, Marco. Hello, Andreas. Hello, David. Mahidra's asking, is Easy Peasy an alternative to Redux? Yes, it is. So it's a global state management solution that uses hooks and has great support for TypeScript. And it integrates with the Redux dev tools. So essentially, in an application like this, you would use Easy Peasy instead of Redux. Yes, but we'll talk about that. And hello, Quing. Welcome. Yeah, I always talk about how I don't like TypeScript, but as I've mentioned before, I use it. And I use React at work, and I don't really like React, but I'm going to show you my preferred way of doing things if I had to use, which I do have to use those things. Hello, Ben Aaron Dahmer. And hello, Felix from the Dominican Republic. Very good. Andrea says you should throw SSR in there, too. I don't plan to do that. I haven't really worked with Next.js much, but it's possible, I'm sure. And hello, Quang from Vietnam. Very good. Hello, Camilo. Welcome. All right, I need to make a like a to-do list because I have not done that yet. I should have, but I didn't. And I mean, it's probably going to take me over an hour to set up this application, just to talk about all the different things that are in it and to get the setup going. But I do, once I get everything set up, I want to build something very basic, and I specifically want to build a website that has a form on it, because I'm going to be showing React hook form and form validations and how you can manage form state with React. So I need to make a website that has a form on it. I'm just going to create a very general directory, and while people are filtering in, you can help me come up with ideas for what I'm going to build. But it could be like submit a review to Coding Garden. So like you fill in a form and then click submit, and it shows it on the page. I mean, we could build a to-do app. That's kind of boring, though. We could build, like, a link sharing site. I don't know, something with a form and validations. We're going to call this TypeScript React Hooks App. Open this up with code. New file. That's just a README. And this is going to be our to-do. But let's say hello to more people before we go down that path. It's actually possible. So Mahidra is asking, Redux DevTools, that means Easy Peasy is using Redux under the hood. No, so it's possible to integrate with the Redux DevTools without using Redux. I've done that before. I had some ideas about some different state management patterns, and the Redux DevTools have an API so that you can add actions and things to them without even using Redux. So, no, it's not using Redux under the hood. And hello, Raphael. K lo K manin. What manin? I don't know what that means, but hello. You can code along. I think having to keep up with the chat and such will make it so that I'm going at a pace where you can most likely code along. And if you have any questions, let me know. And hello, Edzino. Welcome. Hello, Coach Ma. Hello, Domenico. Daniel says, going to work and listen to your awesome content. Very cool. Are you on your way to work? Or you are working right now? I don't know. But anyways, thanks for dropping by. Yeah, the leaderboard is somehow, we need to make this game harder. But somehow the leaderboard already has a 95.96 and a 95.49 on it by Oscar and Exino. Yeah. Well, thank you, Kwang. So these are also chats from Twitch as well. So I have both Twitch and YouTube integrated. Hello, Sheena. So hooks are new in React 16. They've been around for at least half a year, maybe a whole year. But I can talk about that as well as like what they are. First, I'll share this, and I need to drink some water because my throat is getting dry. So you can read about hooks there. We'll keep catching up, and then we'll talk about them when we're setting them up. But in general, hooks are a way of creating state for functional components. So in React, there are two ways to create a component. You can create a functional component, or you can create a class component. And typically, like before hooks existed, if you wanted state in your component, you needed to create a class component. But hooks allow you to create components, functional components that have state in them. And the way I'm going to show you that I build things, now that we have hooks, everything is a functional component. Greg says, we lose a bet. Why are you up so early? I got up at 1:30, so I shouldn't be complaining. I wanted to get an early morning stream in, because last week was all evening streams, so a lot of people can only tune in the morning. Judge my garden. Oh, for the website, so you could submit reviews of someone's garden? That's a decent idea. And hello, Raul. Welcome. On the leaderboard, and have got myself an interview next week to become a computer science teacher. That's all thanks to you guys like you, CJ, who inspires. Oh, that's awesome. Is this going to be like at a high school or a university? But that's great. Great work. And hello, Katoli. Upload a picture of our garden with a description, and other users can assign a score to it. Okay, the interactions there are pretty complex though, because you need to be able to submit something, and then other people need to be able to add comments. We could try to come up with a simplified version of it, though. Something that I can do within the span of 2 hours. Or, like, an hour and a half, really. And hello, Afsar. Welcome. Hello, Dope Boy Prax. What's up? And hello, Canon. Hello. Tramstars is asking, React versus Angular. They're both convoluted, but if I had to choose, I would choose React. When Angular is, so I do want to do a front-end showdown video pretty soon, because last year I did the front-end framework showdown, where I built the exact same app with React, Vue, Vanilla, and Angular. And it's 2020, it's a new year, so I want to do something similar. Are hooks suited to small, medium-sized apps? You can build giant applications with it, and the setup I'm going to show you, we have a pretty large application at work that we use this setup with. Welcome, Impy. Hello. Yeah, hooks are pretty cool. Who wants hooks having the good old good classes? Yeah. Hello, Jan. Classes are cool, I guess, but React itself is, like, initially designed to be more functional, so having classes mixed in there was weird to begin with. I don't know. Yeah, you're welcome, Sheena. And hopefully you'll learn more as I start to talk about these things. Yeah, it's not the Christmas drop game anymore. It's the regular drop game. Oh, high school. That's pretty awesome. I thought about that. Like, eventually, if I'm not working in industry anymore, it might be fun to teach computer science at high school. Actually, this weekend, I'm volunteering for an organization called Chick Tech, where I will be teaching high school girls how to build robots. So that's fun. I've done that like 3 times before. It's always fun to do. How do I manage a project with folder structure and anything? And I'll talk about that. So I'm going to be installing all these things, getting it all together, and we're going to try to build an app, and I'll talk about, like, where do the components go? How do we make things reusable and stuff like that? And hello, Code with Dinesh. Welcome. Neither. Hello, Charles. Share your garden. We might be able to do that, because you have a basic form with, like, the name of your garden, a description of your garden, and then a picture of your garden. Something like that. Reddit with comments. The thing is, we would need a backend too. I could probably get a backend with feathers up and going pretty quick. We'll see. The focus of this stream is the React frontend, and then we can figure out what we're gonna build with it. And hello, Neon. Welcome. Hello, Resmed. I will never answer all the questions. You have not tuned into the coding garden before. Hello, Sternholm. What's up? Hello, Jan. How can I do an automated reward for Twitch beta points? I have no idea what Twitch beta points are. Yeah, I don't know. If you had to decide between React and Angular, I'd rather jQuery. Yeah. Thank you, Evil Pisces. Much appreciated. I've been using TypeScript for a while. I just don't like it. But we're going to talk about it. Automated timeout for Twitch channel points? Meaning you award points to viewers based on how long they've been viewing? Yeah, I don't know. This needs to happen. It hasn't happened yet. The tutorial on Docker. Hello, Tipsy Ninja. Hello, Oscar. I'm from all over, but I currently live in Denver, Colorado, USA. Chris says, thank you for your very productive content for junior devs. You're very welcome. Yesir says, I wanted to learn React and Redux for a long time. Well, what I'm going to show you is this thing called Easy Peasy. And it's very easy. But it's essentially a replacement for Redux. And I'll talk about how it works and how to use it. And they provide hooks, and it supports TypeScript. It's pretty sweet. And thanks for the follow, Moon Tori. I'll show you, Akai. You can definitely build large applications with hooks and things like Easy Peasy. 90% of my apps are using the hero component for Bulma. We could use JSON server. I don't see why not. Yeah. And hello, Florin. What's up? CJ streams TypeScript. My first thought. Oh, wow. What happened while I was gone? And yeah, thanks for stopping by, Florin. Everyone should check out Florin on YouTube if you have not yet. He started live streaming. He also uploads like edited videos as well. Florin Pop. There he is. When's your next live stream, Florin? Let's see. You had one a day ago. So I saw your tweet where you said it was tiring to stream for so long. It absolutely is very tiring to stream for a long time. People don't realize, like, I mean, some live coders don't talk as much as I do, or don't answer as many questions as I do, so they can stream for 8 hours. I get tired after like 3 or 4, or really after like 2. And then it gets hard to code. I can't think straight. I don't know. But everyone should check out Florin. He live streams. A lot of his streams are focused more on like UI type things. But he has done some streams where he was doing like code katas challenges and stuff like that. So yeah, check him out. Yeah. Sturholm says, I love how you always greet people with love. Do you always love streaming, or does sometimes just suck? Sometimes it gets old. Like, especially people asking the same questions over and over again. Or asking off-topic questions. It can get annoying, but I try to embrace it because I realize, like, that person who is being so adamant about the same question, like, they're really having a hard time. And they've probably searched elsewhere. They're not just asking me. They're asking other people, too, and they can't figure it out. So I understand, but that can get frustrating sometimes. Yeah. This is an old thing that happened a while back. Yeah. Gagan says, should I learn TypeScript? It's totally up to you. The main... I'll talk about this right now, like the politics of TypeScript. Like the main reason I chose TypeScript for a project that I'm using at work is because other developers will eventually be working on it. Like right now, I'm the lead developer and I'm setting everything up, but eventually other people are going to work on it as well. And when you have TypeScript and type definitions for all of your components, when you have interfaces, when you have all of these things that really describe and your app and somewhat restrict what can be done, it makes it a lot easier to collaborate on. Instead of being thrown into just a total JavaScript project where it's really hard to figure out where things live and how things relate and what's required on certain things. So TypeScript is really great for that, which is probably why you don't see me use it that much on this channel, because in my personal life, I'm not really caring that much about other people working on my code. I mean, all of my projects are open source, but I don't know. That's one thing about it. Oh yeah, there are a lot of people on Twitch talking about Docker for sure. Definitely check out Mastermind.io and Robert Tables. There are probably others, but they definitely use a lot of Docker. And hello, Siba. Hello, this is Tony. Back in Rust. We do mostly JavaScript here. You're welcome, Ika. Have I ever been to Africa? I have not been to Africa. It would be fun. It would be fun to travel the world and teach coding garden type stuff, but not right now, anyways. But it would be fun to visit, and I'm sure I have a lot. There's a lot of people that would want to say hello there. At least people that watch the YouTube channel. It'd be fun to do some live talks. Felix is asking, can the backend have a live style database? The app receives the updates and displays the changes. Yeah, absolutely. So my my Q&A website, it's using Feathers.js on the backend, and that enables real-time stuffs. So when someone makes a vote, like if you're logged in, you can click heart on a question, which will vote on that, and it'll bring it up. But whenever you vote, that stores your vote in a database. And then Feathers automatically sends an event to any connected client that says, hey, a vote was created. And then I have client-side code that's listening for when votes are created, and they automatically update the UI. But all of the information is stored in the database. So you can look into Feathers. I have a whole playlist on Feathers on my channel if you want to learn about it. Yeah, you're welcome, Florin. And thanks for the follow, Phoenix2803. Moon Tori says easy peasy, looks very interesting. I'll definitely check it out. Yeah, and the main thing is if you go into their docs, they have a TypeScript tutorial, so they have full TypeScript support, which was needed in what I was doing. So basically, you create interfaces that describe your store, that describe all of your actions, all of the data that's in it. You can create reducers if you want, and thunks are built right in. So you can just create an action that returns a promise. You don't have to do any like weird setup. It's a beautiful thing. Like, cause I've done applications, old style with like class components and Redux, and we were using, sagas, which are pretty complex. They use generators. And this thing, it's just so easy to set up. I'll show it. Yeah, it's easy-peasy.now.sh. Here, I'll share it here. Deep Sense says, I'm convinced JSDoc is better than TypeScript. They're a good complement to each other. I think if you're not going to use TypeScript and you are working on something that a lot of other people are working on, JSDoc is like a minimum, I think. Hello, Levi. What's up? Welcome. Yeah. Yeah, I've done a... No, was it a 15-hour? I felt like it was 16 hours, but I've done some pretty long streams. Tipsy Ninja asks, I want to make a PWA showing events where I can provide a dashboard from where admins can add events to the app. So what tech should I use? I'm thinking to make a dynamic web app using Flask, but I'm confused how to insert data from the console. How do I make an API, or is that an extra step? So Flask is similar to Express. So if you've seen me build Express backends and with JavaScript on my stream, Flask is like the same thing, but for Python. So think of Flask like the Express. It's the thing that creates the routes and handles the incoming requests. But you're still going to need a database of some kind. For Python, I've used SQL Alchemy. If you're using like a SQL database, there's other libraries for talking to like Mongo. So you're going to need to set that up. Flask is your API. You need a database. And then you need a front end to send the request to the backend. Hopefully that maybe clears things up a little bit. If you're using Django, Django is like a server-side, by default, is a server-side rendered framework. So that would actually allow you to build pages that are server-side rendered, so you wouldn't necessarily need to build an API. But I don't know. It's a little off topic. We're going to try to get through these, and then we're going to start setting things up. Yeah, I need a frequently asked question. Well, I do have a frequently asked questions section. It just needs to be updated. Good morning, Phil Carbo. Welcome. I don't have any plans for the latest Angular, but I did mention earlier I might do a front-end showdown, and if that's the case, I'll teach you like the basics of Angular. Yeah. Docker. Yeah, I need to do Docker soon. The thing is, I have a friend who I'd like to collaborate with on Docker. I just need to reach out to her and plan something. Yeah. I didn't say I like TypeScript, but it is a thing. Cool. Yeah. And Ben Awad is a great YouTube channel. You should check him out if you haven't. And thanks for the follow, Spartan TR. Thank you very much. Cool. Oh, hello, Fluke from South Africa as well. And Khalil with the $5 donation. Thank you so much. Let's see if you sent a message. No message, just a donation. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. And hello, Augustine. Welcome. Augustine is watching with Lukeman. Hello, Lukeman. Stop it, Envy. Giving me flashbacks. Yeah, sagas are cool. They're also very convoluted and complex. um, oh, it is vegan friendly. It's vegetarian friendly, though it's just peas. There's no, I don't think there's any dairy involved. So I think you're good if you're a vegan. That's a joke for anyone. I didn't make the Q&A site on stream, no, but the code is open source. You can find it on my GitHub. Yeah, Flask is a Python library micro framework that's similar to Express, but it's for Python. Backend in Spring Boot. That's a thing you can do. That's cool. I mean, I don't really do Java, but that's a thing. Yeah. And that's the thing. So Flask is like a micro framework. Django is more of a full-fledged framework. ORMs are cool. I'm not adamant. No. I think you're confusing me with other people that have strong opinions and refuse to do things. I admit that TypeScript is useful, and I use it on a daily basis, but I don't like it. Is there a Django-like framework for Node.js? I would say the closest thing is probably like Sales.js. But yeah. Yeah. And thanks again, Khalil, for the tip. Much appreciated. Vue for the win. I like Vue. If I had to choose, I would choose Vue. Stir Home Dev is asking if I could live only on YouTube and Twitch as a single income with only the Coding Garden content. Would I do it, or would I have a main job and switch to YouTube as a hobby? I would do it. I think the main thing that would actually make me money is if I made courses. So like edited, structured courses. My screen is freaking out. I think my my HDMI wasn't plugged in all the way. Hopefully it comes back. Just a second. That's not good. My HDMI came unplugged. We can only hope. Will it come back? Oh no. Well, I'll finish answering this question, and then we're gonna fix that. But then we need to start writing code because I've been live for 25 minutes. But if I had to do if Coding Garden was my full job, I would need some way of supplementing my income because I get right now, if you combine all of my YouTube memberships and Patreon memberships, it's roughly $300 a month. It's a little under $300 a month. Excuse me. And my rent is like 4 times that, and I have insurance to pay, and I have car payments, and all these other things that I have to pay. So if I really wanted to make money with Coding Garden, I would need to create some sort of structured content and like edited tutorials that people could explicitly pay money for, and a lot of my time would probably be spent making those courses, designing the content, having them edited, that kind of thing. But if I could do it full time, I probably would. It's just a matter of time. I don't know, maybe like a year or 2, I'll be doing it full time. All right, what's up with this? We gotta fix the screen. The HDMI came unplugged, and now things are bad. Well, that's not good. The thing is, I could close OBS, reopen it, and that'd be good to go. But I think Twitch is gonna have to restart. But here we go. See you momentarily. Back. For some reason, my capture card stopped working. So I had to use a different one, and unfortunately I had a backup. Yeah, so my capture card stopped working. Let me know if I'm back. Just say hello in the chat. But I think I'm back. Cool. All right. Hello. Thank you. And hello, Kajama. Let's say hello to everyone, and then we'll start coding, because it's been almost 30 minutes. And we're back. Awesome. Hello, this is Tony. Welcome. Domenico says, I suggest SQL Alchemy for Flask plus Python and relational databases. Cool. And hello, Christian. Welcome. Do you prefer JS like type juggling or Python like strict types but not too strict? The thing is, if you're using JavaScript, you're really not changing the types of things. Like, you can. That's I don't know if it's a feature of the language. It's something you can do in the language, but just because you can doesn't mean you do. I don't know. And hello, Tan. Welcome. Hello, Hanan. Hello, Clink50. Hello, Matthew. Eternal Dev prefers C#, so that's cool. Hello, Marique. This is Tony says, donating is not available in your country. That's unfortunate. You can try Streamlabs. So if you go to streamlabs.com/codinggarden with CJ, this accepts like PayPal and credit cards. I mean, you don't have to donate. You absolutely don't have to donate. But if you do, that is one place you can do it as well, aside from Super Chat. And hello, Julian. Welcome. Yeah. It's so true, Ben. I didn't make the Q&A site on stream because I needed to complete it within an hour. Yeah, so, I mean, we're here. We're saying hello to everyone. It's totally fine. But we haven't written any code yet. And that's usually how it goes here. But yeah, Easy Peasy is very similar to, to Redux. F to pay respects. Yeah. Okay. But we're back. Okay, so I'm going to say hello to everyone I didn't say hello to. Hello, Emmanuel. Hello, Christian. Hello, Eternal Dev. Hello, Alana. Hello, Alex. Hello, Marcos. But we need to get started. So here's the plan. We are going to create a React app and install all these stuffs in it. So let's look at Create React App. So this is a tool from Facebook that will generate a React application, but it now supports TypeScript. So when you create a React app, you can do npx create React app, but if you do --TypeScript, where is it? It's not in the docs here. That's unfortunate. We'll probably find it on their GitHub page. But when you're generating the project, you can do --TypeScript, and it will automatically set it up with TypeScript for you. How do I do TypeScript? Like, I've done it many times before. It's probably just --TypeScript. But why can't I find it in the README or on the homepage talking about Create React App? Is there... Yeah, there's a website, createreactapp.dev. Okay, here we go. TypeScript. No. Docs. Okay, it all turns out this was just a point... I'm trying to make a point that you shouldn't do this. No, I'm just kidding. I really do want to just create it with TypeScript. Selecting a template. Here we go. So yeah, thank you, Christoph. So you do npx create React app. You name the app --template and say TypeScript, and it will generate an app by default with all the TypeScript stuff. So let's actually get that going. Here. Let's actually, we're gonna create an app called Rate My Garden. You can post pictures of, I know pictures are tricky, especially when you're doing things on the internet. People can put any random picture. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna make a guest book. So anybody can just say hello. They can submit a form with their name, their message, and something else. So that's the form. But okay, so we're gonna do npx create React app. We're gonna call it Guestbook. And we do --template TypeScript. And so this will create a React app and install all of the TypeScript types and set everything up with TypeScript by default. And so there were some questions that came in, like what's the benefit of TypeScript? So one of the benefits is type checking. So when you create things, you create interfaces or you create classes which define a very specific type. So if you're used to just JavaScript, you can create objects all day long and like throw any properties you want in there. But for other developers, when they come along to use your code, it can be difficult to determine like what properties are required on that object, or what methods exist on that object. And with TypeScript, you predefine that and you say, this is what this object will look like, and it must adhere to this interface. And when you do that, then when other developers come along, you can actually get really good editor support. And actually, let's turn on dark mode. Nice. You can get really good editor support so that it says, oh, hey, you're accessing this object. These are all the properties that are available. So that's one of the major benefits of TypeScript. And what was I saying? I thought of something else that was a benefit, but we're going to keep going. When learning something from scratch, what's the best way to learn it? It really depends. I prefer documentation. I prefer just going to the source and figuring it out from there. But that's come with years of experience. If you're totally new to things, it's good. It might be nice to find a tutorial. Hello, Abunga. No, we haven't started coding yet. We just started right now. Hello, Avi. Hello, Sheena. So this is a 2015 MacBook Pro. All right, we got to keep coding though. I realize I missed a lot of chats, but we got to do this because we only have about an hour left. All right, so we're gonna go into the guestbook. Let's open it up with code and see what we've got. So we have a React app. If you go into the source directory, you can see that things now have the extension TSX. So TS, usually if you see .ts, that means it's a TypeScript file. TSX means it's a TypeScript file that has JSX inside of it. So we can look at our index. It looks pretty standard, what you're used to, if you've ever created a React app, but where it gets different is if you actually look at your main component. So you'll see syntax like this. So typically in TypeScript, when you define a variable, you define the type of that variable. So this app is of type react.fc. FC means functional component. So we are defining a function that is of type functional component. And then we're returning some things. We don't really see any other TypeScript in there. And then if we look at the tests, there's not really any TypeScript in there. For the most part, we don't really have much TypeScript going on, but it's set up so that you can use TypeScript. And the main thing is this tsconfig, which tells the TypeScript compiler what options are enabled and what needs to happen to actually use TypeScript stuffs. So when we start building this out and adding more things, you'll see more TypeScript things. But let's just start the app. npm start. Yeah, you could say that. So JSX is a combination of JavaScript and HTML. I have other things on port 3000, so this will probably, yeah, this is port 3004. Flow and TypeScript are two different type checking things. TypeScript is from Microsoft. Flow, I think, is from Facebook. But yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's a good point, Tipsy. There's a lot of stuff on YouTube that's true. The drop leaderboard is messed up. Does it mean it's not loading? I might actually disable it though. And yes, TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript, meaning any valid JavaScript is valid TypeScript. And we're going to turn the drop game off. Apologies. We'll turn it on later. Just remind me. And hello, Akash. Welcome. Okay, so we have a basic React app. It's up and going. All the things you see in the video title. So you see React, TypeScript, hooks, easy peasy, all that good stuff. We're going to install that. One thing I want to get going, though, before we do any of that, is Es Lint and Prettier. Because that can be a little bit tricky to get set up. And before we start writing a lot of code, I do want to get that going. So we're going to kill that. We're going to install Es Lint as a dev dependency. And I'm actually just going to search the web because I've found a really good Medium article on setting up React, TypeScript, Prettier, Es Lint, setting these things all up together. Is that it? Here's a dev.to. We'll find one. So this is the other way I learn things, is by finding tutorial articles online. And I don't just immediately start writing the code I find in them. I first make sure that the things they're asking me to do make sense. So this thing is saying install Es Lint, install the TypeScript Es Lint parser, which we definitely need, and the TypeScript Es Lint plugin. Those are all things we will need, I do believe. But this is having us write our config from scratch. I don't think we'll do that. And then, yeah, step 1, give bank account details. This might be, I think this is the one that I followed a while back. So, and this makes a good point, installing @types React. So we actually don't need to do that. And if you look at the package JSON, by default, because we generated with the TypeScript template, you can see that it installed types React, types React DOM, types Node, types Jest. So when you're working with TypeScript, typically you'll need to install the typings for any particular library that you're using in order to get editor suggestions, and also in order for your application to compile, because if TypeScript can't find type definitions, it doesn't know what to do and things will break. So you do need type definitions. So we have that. We need the Es Lint plugin, the parser, Es Lint prettier, Es Lint config React, Es Lint plugin prettier. Okay, so I'm liking this article better because these seems like things that we need. And this is written in April, which is just a few months ago. Let's look at this one. October, so it's a little more recent. Install types, configure TypeScript config. That's too much. I think this one looks pretty promising because they have like a decent tooling. Yeah, that's why this stream is gonna take so long. But this Es Lint looks good to me just at a glance because I've set up a lot of these before. Then we have like our linting. Okay, we're gonna go with this. But first thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna install Es Lint by itself. Generate the config because I want to use Airbnb, and then we're gonna go and sprinkle in prettier in TypeScript and all that good stuff. Well, actually, it should actually it'll ask me if I'm using TypeScript, and it'll set that up. So the only thing we'll need to add probably is prettier. So now that I have Es Lint installed as a dev dependency, we're gonna do npx eslint -- init. It can ask me questions. I want to do all the things. We are using JavaScript modules, imports and exports. We're using React, and we are using TypeScript. So already Es Lint is going to install the React plugin, the TypeScript plugin, all that good stuff. We're running in the browser, and I'm going to use the Airbnb style guide. It just comes with a lot of sensible defaults, so that's good enough for me. And then it'll install all of the dependencies. So it needs the Es Lint config, it needs all these other things, so you can see that it's going to install those by default. We could install Husky. I don't think I'm going to do that now, but Husky is a really great tool for running like pre-commit hooks and setting those up in your package JSON. But hello, Geek Panther. Welcome to the show. How is types node not a part of TypeScript yet? I don't know, but you do have to install it separately. Good morning, Lily Hazel. What's up? Welcome. Prettier can be a pain, but I did get it working at work, so hopefully that we can get this working. So after doing that, we can look at my package JSON. We can see my dev dependencies now have all these Es Lint things, and they do have the Es Lint parser for TypeScript and the Es Lint plugin. And if we look at my Es Lint rc.js, it's set up for React recommended and then Airbnb, and then it's saying to use the TypeScript parser. So if we look at this file, we get some errors. So this says JSX not allowed in files with extension TSX. So this is an issue because the React recommended rules and plugin are expecting it to be JSX. They're not actually expecting it to be TSX. So they want it to be .jsx instead of .tsx. We'll fix that though. So I think what we'll need to do is instead of React recommended, we got to do some things. But let's look at this article. And create React app 3 will include TypeScript linting and Es Lint out of the box. That's pretty sweet. Let's look at that issue, just in general. How do I fix it? We're gonna try. I have fixed it before. Basically, I think there's potentially another plugin, or you order the plugins in a certain way. You might have to turn off that rule, but we're gonna fix it. Oh, this issue is closed. Is create React app 3 like, is that what I'm using? I don't know. We don't have Es Lint though. But let's see what we're installing here. So we did get all these things. We have the Es Lint plugin, we have the parser, but what we do want to add is the Es Lint config prettier, Es Lint config React. I think we have that. Let's look at our package JSON. Es Lint config Airbnb. Okay. Oh, how did I used a totally separate capture card. Es Lint config React. All right. I think we mainly need Prettier, the Prettier plugin. I think I'm gonna go ahead and install those. So Es Lint config Prettier. So we're gonna install as a dev dependency Es Lint config Prettier, Es Lint plugin Prettier, and Prettier. So the reason I like these in combination with Es Lint is in VS Code, whenever you do format document, that can use Prettier. But if you don't have Prettier and Es Lint synced up, then Prettier will potentially add double quotes, even though your Es Lint file says you're using single quotes. And by putting them all together and integrating them, they work nice together. So we've got those things installed now. The cool thing is we actually don't need Enzyme anymore. So with the latest Create React app, it comes pre-installed with React testing tools as a quick aside. So if you look at the tests, React testing library. So instead of having to configure Enzyme, now you can just use the testing library, which works out of the box. There is like a setup test file, but you don't really have to do as much configuration as you do with Enzyme. You don't have to install it separately. Create React app comes with that now, React testing library, which is pretty interesting. Okay, so we've installed those things. It wants us to create an Es Lint ignore. I've never done that before. But let's look at their configuration. So they have Es Lint recommended, plugin React recommended, plugin TypeScript Es Lint, Prettier TypeScript, and then plugin Prettier recommended. So let's get this going. And we can see that's in the extends category. So right now we're extending plugin React recommended in Airbnb. Let's just comment these out. Let's put these and see what we're doing. So Es Lint recommended at the top, then React recommended, then TypeScript Es Lint recommended, then Prettier TypeScript Es Lint, then Prettier recommended. So here's what I'm going to do. Instead of Prettier recommended, I'm going to add Airbnb, because these are the rules that I do want to follow. I'm guessing. This could totally break, but here's my thoughts. We add Airbnb right here instead. So essentially replacing the recommended Prettier rules with the Airbnb rules. That's the plan. And we do have React recommended covered. Okay, so this is the one major change is instead of using Prettier, I'm using Airbnb. I'm going to try to make something. I don't know if I'm going to have the time to make something. And then in plugins, we have React, TypeScript Es Lint, and Prettier. Let's see what we have there. So under plugins, we have React, TypeScript Es Lint, and then we're going to add the Prettier one as well. Okay, so we're looking good so far. Prettier. Oh, buddy. Did I just close the chat window? I think I did. Give me a second. Oh, buddy. Yeah, we fixed that, though. Okay, so we have Prettier. Environment, browser, Jasmine, Jest. We're not using Jasmine, but we are using Jest. So we can say Jest is true. Mainly because the globals, like expect and things like that, if you don't have Jest in your environment, then it won't know what those globals are. We have rules. I'm not going to add that one just yet. Settings, React, Pragma React, version detect. Let's see if we have that. We don't. So I'm going to add that. And we should have parser, Es Lint parser set up automatically. So we do have parser, Es Lint parser. We'll add these settings. Oh, we don't need any quotes on this stuff. We're in JavaScript. Though I am, what's the word? The fact that TypeScript isn't run, or Es Lint isn't running in this file right now worries me. But let's see. I think it should be. Okay, so we have that. Looks way more complicated than it should be. If you have a better way, please let me know. And now we can try it, and the thing is we may have to disable some rules. So now that I have that set up, if I go to my app.tsx, we can see that it's still complaining about JSX file name extension. JSX not allowed in files. I'm just going to disable this. Plain and simple. We're using the recommended React rules. A lot of them are good, some of them don't make sense. Let's take a look. Yeah, and basically what we can say is in the rule options, thank you, Ed, in the rule options we could tell it to use TSX instead of JSX. Yeah. Here we go. Thank you, Ed. So instead of disabling it, we can just tell it, hey, it should be TypeScript or it should be TSX for that specific rule. And now it's not complaining anymore, but it is saying one expression per line. Thank you, Ed. That was good. They're turning rules off. Okay, I think we're good. I'm gonna link this article in our README. Es Lint plus prettier. Go to that article, but I do want to create a prettier RC. And just tell it I want single quotes, I want semicolons, that kind of thing. Let's look up prettier. A live session to watch. What do you mean, Tramp Stars? This is live. Yeah. Get started. Oh, on visual code? Oh, yeah. Let me start that up. Yeah, sorry, I didn't know what you were meaning, but yeah, let's do it. I can create a read-only session so you all can watch my code while I do it. Here we go. So if you're watching live, feel free to open up VS Code, and you can watch me code. And hello, Jules Kippo, welcome. All right, where is the configuration file? Here it is. I think we'll do this, prettyrc.js. We'll put that code in there. Read only. Tab width is 2, semicolons is true, and single quotes are true. All right, so we have prettier and Es Lint installed. They should be integrated. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do Command-Shift-P, format document. There are multiple formatters configured. I'm going to tell it to use prettier, and we'll see what happens. I think it mainly did it. And if we use Es Lint to auto-fix the code, that also works too. The thing about this was it wants JSX to be on a separate line from like actual code here, so it does that. Let me see this comment appearing live. Hello, React. It's so true. Yeah, I'm never actually live. Okay, so I think we're good on that front. Next thing is I think I'll install React Router because we want some basic routing. Oh yeah, I'll tell you really quick, Matthias. So why does it do this? So here's the rule that basically it said I was violating. It doesn't like the fact that I have like plain text and JSX on the same line. So you can see the error is code must be placed on a new line. And the issue is, and so let's start up the app. So if I do npm start, and if you put it on the next line, the way HTML works is it's going to be smack right next to each other. So right now, because it's on the same line and we have spaces, we see those spaces. But if I put this on a new line and I don't do that space thing, then it squishes it together. So the fix for that is to do like a blank space with JSX, which actually adds a space right there. And then you get the space. So that's why it does that. View add router. No, we're gonna install React Router DOM. Yeah, you're welcome. So I think we can do this from memory. Install React Router DOM, like so. I don't believe so. With Vue, there is no rule about having elements on the same line as text, so you wouldn't really need to do that. Though technically, you could probably just add some handlebars with a space string inside of it. I don't know. Okay, we have React Router DOM. Let's get it set up. And actually, because we're here, let's start setting up. Yeah, a space should be enough. Let's get this project folder set up going though. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna delete. Well, actually, yeah, I'm just gonna straight up delete app.css. We have our app test. That's fine. Index.css. I'm gonna get rid of all the basic styles we have so far. Index.tx. This is pretty unconventional, but I'm actually just going to remove the service worker. So one thing I've found is if you don't configure the service worker correct, you could run into like caching issues in the browser. So until you really need a progressive web app with like caching in the browser, I just remove that stuff. We can get rid of the React logo. This was set up for TypeScript type things. I'm just going to delete this service worker file. Then we have set up tests. Cool. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a new folder called components. And for now, we have like really just the app component, like the app level component. So I'm going to move app and app.tsx into there. Automatically update their imports. But all of our components don't just go in this folder. I'll also create separate folders that are like the section of the application, and it can have components inside of it. This is just like initial setup. So this doesn't exist anymore. This doesn't exist anymore. We don't have a logo. And our test, why is this complaining? Unable to resolve path to module. I don't believe you. And actually, here's one of the interesting things about TypeScript. You can get autocomplete. So if you're ever on a line that has a TypeScript error, so this says app is not defined. And really, so, sorry. That first error on top is an Es Lint error. That's just a linting error. It's not an actual type error. This one that says TS says cannot find name app. That's actually a TypeScript error. So if you ever see a TypeScript error, you can do command period, and then you get a list of options. I believe on Windows it's like control period. All right, we're gonna always accept anonymous connections. So if you do command period, import default app from module app, and if I just hit enter there, it'll automatically add the import because it detected what it needed to import. But I'm curious. Why is it not able to resolve that? Yeah, one thing I also like to do, though, is actually create a folder and put all of my files inside of that folder, and then rename the main component to index. So create a folder called app, and then the main file in here, I call it index.tsx. And then in the test, we just import index. Does it want the file extension? Huh. This is not a good thing. This is an Es Lint issue. Oh well, we'll try to fix that later. But and I'll show you in a bit why this makes a lot of sense, because especially if you're using Material UI, a lot of times next to your components you have things like style JavaScript files and things like that. And so I like to create a folder where inside of that folder you put the component, you put the test, you put your styles, and it all looks nice and stuff. Yeah, I'm actually going to reload. Oh, this might end the session though. I'm gonna reload the window. Hopefully it doesn't kill the session. I might have to send out a new link. It killed the session. Oh no, the error's back. That was feels bad, man. Let's see if I missed things in the chat. Service workers are not a React thing. Service workers are a thing in the browser, but you can do things like caching. So that service worker, what it did, if you looked at that service worker code, was it actually would cache all of the files, meaning the JavaScript, the CSS, all of that. It would cache it so that on subsequent loads, the page loads faster. Yeah. Wait, what is this saying? Oh. Well, no. That should be TSX. They both should be TSX. What did someone say? Try adding .ts. I think it needs to be TSX though. All right, we need a new collaboration session. Sorry, everyone. Here we go. Okay, so that's back. I'm not going to worry about all the errors right now because we still need to install a lot of things. Okay, so in our index, we're trying to import in component/app. Which should just work because of the thing. So let's try to restart it. What did I just say? This should work because there's a file called index in the root of that folder called app. Okay, so it is running on port 3004 now, and we do have a basic app. But we have those weird linting errors. I'm not going to worry about that right now. It's definitely fixable. Okay, so we have a basic app. We just installed React Router DOM, which is right here. And one thing I like to do is just set up like a routes file, but let's get it set up in the main file here. So in index.tsx, we need to import React Router DOM. We need to import a router. Let's say router, and we can either choose hash router or browser router. We'll use browser router. The only issue with that is you need to, when you're deploying it, you need to make sure your server supports that. So we're gonna import browser router as router from React Router DOM. Excuse me. Why is this complaining? Declared but never used. Cool. And then our actual application needs to be wrapped in a router. So I'll do that in here. One thing I have done before, though, is set up like a component called root where I do all of this stuff. So it's not all in this file. And this is an error that you will see. So we installed React Router DOM, but we don't have the types. So right now, I'm trying to import this, and TypeScript is like, hey, what is this browser router? I don't know what that is. But if you look at the error, it says try installing @types/React Router DOM. And that's what we need to do. So I mentioned it earlier, but you saw in the package.json, we have all of these type packages, which basically help TypeScript know what types we're using. So we need to install that. React Router DOM types. Huh. I mean, one thing it might be, so that Es Lint error we were seeing. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But that the types got installed. We might have to restart my server. For it to actually detect those types in the built application. But if we look in VS Code, now it's not complaining anymore. Because now it knows the types that are inside of React Router DOM. So we can import browser router and wrap our app in the router. So that should be good to go. And in our app, we can just do like some basic testing here. We'll import, and actually I'll show you some cool things about TypeScript. So let's get rid of this basic text here. We're just gonna have like a div with there'll be a link to page 1 and page 2, and for now we're just gonna put it all in the same component to show that this is working. But for that we need a switch. So switch is a thing in React Router DOM to decide which route to show. And you can see I typed switch and we automatically get this thing pops up that says auto import from React Router DOM. Why, yes, I would love to do that. So it detected, because it has those types installed, it knows that switch is a type inside of React Router DOM, so we can use it. Now we want to route TypeScript guard. And again, it's saying, oh, do you want to import this? Yes, I do. Beautiful. So we'll say right here that the path, when the path is slash, we're just going to show like home page. H1, home page, like that. And then we'll have another route. And when the path is about, we'll show an H1 that says about page. And if you ever go to anything else, we always want to redirect back to the home page, so we need the redirect component. And you can see, again, hey, do you want to import that from React Router DOM? So TypeScript is pretty useful sometimes for cases like this. And so I'll say redirect back to slash if you go to a route that's not defined. Cool. So we have our like routing view set up. Now we can add some links up top. So I want a link. This doesn't know how to import directly from there because there are other things called link. I've had better luck with this working with TypeScript rather than just VS Code. Like VS Code doesn't always know where to find things. So yeah, so we're going to import link from React Router DOM. We want a link that says home page, and then it needs to go to slash, and then we want another link that goes to the about page, and that goes to slash about. And we'll just put a little span right here with that. So we should see an app with 2 links at the top and then the page loaded below it. So here we go. We're on the home page. We're on the about page. We're on the home page. We're on the about page. Cool. So routing is working. It's set up with TypeScript. You can see that I'm getting a linter error right now because it wants it to be on the next line. So I'll just say fix that. That's good to go. Okay, so we have routing. Let's set up Material UI. Because that's the thing we said we were going to do. Let's go to the Material UI docs. So Material UI is a React component framework, UI framework for building apps with React. And if you've... Oh no, did my screen turn off again? What the heck? What the heck? Jeez. It's going crazy. Oh, look at all the drops. Twilight Zone. Well, that's yeah. So this is what React does to my stream. Why is this happening? Yeah, I'm being hacked. Who has the hacks? All right, we'll turn on the drop game while I try to figure this out. Hacks, hacks, I tell you. Looks like the HDMI doesn't like TypeScript. It really doesn't. Well, at this point, I could just I could switch back to the other capture card. I literally I switched capture cards because I had an extra one. And I switched it out. It might be I'm gonna try something really quick. It might be my HDMI splitter. Hold on for a second. Though this this could totally break things. Let's see though. Oh no, it's back. But my mouse stops working. Like you can see I'm trying to move my mouse right now and it freezes. So that's another issue with my capture card. All right, we're going to slowly but you can see my screen though, right? Slowly go back to that other scene. No, I think I could do this. Okay, just a second. Nope. Oh, is it back? It's back. Okay. We're gonna hope that that works. That just works. Hello, Percelsior. Welcome. All right. Yeah, let's keep going. Okay. So we're going to install Material UI. Let's just go ahead and do this right here. But this is a component framework. So if you look at components, you can see there are things like layout. You have things like buttons, like this. Oh yeah, let's try to drop him off. Thank you, Ed. You have buttons like this, and then you can see the React code that's involved. So you import button from this library. And then you can start using the buttons, and they have various styles and such. So there's a ton of stuff in this component framework. It has things like theming, and it has it uses Css Nsj by default, and it has a way of like overriding the built-in styles. That's what we use at work, and what I use and what I like to use, I prefer it. And if you've never heard of CSS Nsj, this is it. Basically, you can define your style sheets with JavaScript, and then they actually get generated and turned into style sheets and classes. So this isn't like, it doesn't create inline styles. It actually generates classes that are then applied to your elements. And so Material UI is using this under the hood, and you can define your own classes. You can override certain things. It's pretty sweet. So we have a Material UI core. Probably gonna need to restart the app to get things going. Let's see. Yeah, there are 8 people in the live share. Cool. And so now let's try to use it. And by default, we should be able to just import the components in. They do have a theming system, so if you look at customization, and possibly in the overview, they show it. You typically need to provide, if you want to customize it, you have a theme provider that's at the top level of your application, and then everything else can inherit that theme. Though I'm not going to override the theme just now. We're just going to get some basic stuff going. So I want like a nav bar. let's see. Box. Inputs. Navigation. Menu? Here we go, app bar. That's what we want. this thing. So this is the code that would be required to have an app bar. Though we do have to import quite a few things, as you can see. So let's do this. I'm gonna copy and paste all of this, and then we're going to modify things as needed. Overview greater than overview? What? So Ed is saying, I've only used style components. Are they a lot different? At the end of the day, both styled components and React JSS in CSS and JS, both of them generate classes dynamically. So they have that in common. But I've seen with styled components it uses like a template string. I don't really like that syntax. I like the fact that your styles can actually adhere to the same linting rules as your JavaScript. I like that about it. So styled components. So we're going to take all of these imports just so we can get a similar looking nav bar. So we're going to import all of these things from Material UI. We could technically install the icons package as well. I'm not going to do that. No menu icon. CSS Njs. So we're importing all these components because we want an app bar and a toolbar and all that good stuff. And then make styles is the special thing that creates custom styles that allow you to override. And you can see that we're doing it right here. But typically what you do is you actually define this in a separate file. In my app directory here, I'm going to call it styles.ts. And this actually needs to be inside of app. Yeah. And this is what we're going to do here, and we're going to actually export this. So I'm going to say export default. And we don't actually need a theme, so I'm just going to export an object. With no menu button class. There we go. It's totally fine. But now I take that make styles and we bring it in here instead. So import make styles, export this invoked, and this actually creates a hook. So inside of your component, you say use styles, and then you can actually use those styles. So I'm literally just going to take this. We're going to put it in our app. And now, instead of this just being a component that directly returns JSX, it needs an actual body. So it needs this, and then we can do the return here. But what I'm going to do is take this code that we wrote earlier and put it below the app bar. And actually, we can put that in a div. Yeah. We'll get there. It's going to happen. And you can see that this is saying classes.root. I'm going to see what it's applying. FlexGrow 1. Interesting. I think we're going to put this right here. And we're going to do this. So we have our app bar. We then have our div below that with all the the links and such. And no menu icon. Instead, we're just going to do a hamburger like that. And then now this is complaining because it needs, no, ignore that. But now how do we get this use styles hook? We actually import that styles file. So I'll say import use styles from styles, which is this file here. And this exports the invocation of make styles that actually creates a hook. And so now we can use those styles right here. And if I did everything correctly, we should get a basic app. Menu button doesn't, oh yeah, I removed the menu button class, so we'll get rid of that. And what's interesting is we now actually have typed class names as well. So you can see that TypeScript is complaining, hey, classes doesn't have a menu button property because we actually removed the menu button property from this object. Yeah, it's live shared. I'll share the new link. And thanks for the follow, HackAdvisor, and thanks for the follow, Stop Kid. Welcome to the show. This is a long, drawn-out stream. Oh, that's the wrong thing. This is a long, drawn-out stream where I have lots of video-related issues and only spend like 10 minutes actually writing code, but we'll get there. I have to go in like 15 minutes. Okay. Classes.menu button doesn't exist, and that's a cool TypeScript error because it's like, hey, there's no menu button property on this object, so that's cool. But we just need to get rid of that. My stream capturing card for my my computer has stopped working twice now. There we go. And now we have a basic app bar with a nice little hamburger menu. React is very complicated. You can see that there's automatic margin and padding. I'm gonna get rid of that like in my main styles. So I reserve index.css for any global styles. So I'm just gonna do like a basic reset. Say every element. No, not a basic reset. We're gonna do a reset on the body. So I'll say body padding 0 and margin 0. And that gets rid of the stuff along the edges. The main thing I use for index.css are like totally global styles. So you can see in index.tsx, we're importing those styles, but you really only put things in here that are completely and totally global. Any any styles for a specific component, any overrides for Material UI, those are going to go in this. And it's important to keep those separate. Otherwise, you end up with like a 1,000-line index.css file, which is never good. Hello, guest user. Please don't focus my attention. All right. So we have a nav bar. We have Material UI set up. What else did I say I was going to do? What day is it? Where are we? I think my my description on Twitch is a lot more. So we've got some basic hooks. We've got our style hook. Next up, let's set up easy peasy because I know a lot of people saw that to be very interesting. And so this is what I use for global state management that includes hooks and supports TypeScript. So I'll link you to it as here. And we can describe what it is and how to set it up. Yeah. Right now, we're just setting up a React app. The idea is we wanted to have like a basic form to submit something, but I don't know if we're going to get that far. Okay, so we need easy peasy, and as I mentioned, it's a state management library for React, but it has hooks out of the box. It supports TypeScript. You can create a global store that you can access anywhere in your application. It's pretty sweet. So let's get it going. We're going to install easy peasy. Up until now, let's do a quick recap for anybody. Excuse me. Anybody that's joining the stream. So what we've done so far is we've set up a React app with TypeScript. We have configured Prettier and Es Lint to work together to lint and prettify our code in conjunction with the TypeScript compiler. We have installed React Router and have wrapped our application in the base router component. And let's we're having some issues here. I think it wants this to be on the previous line. There we go. Our application has set up some basic routing just to show that it's working. We have some links and we have a switch. We installed Material UI, which is a component library. And we got that set up, and we've got a nice little app bar showing. So this is what we have so far. What is going on? So we've done a lot, but also very little. Not much to show for it. Seedling School 2. It should be soon. I don't know. Hello, lonely forest cat. We're learning about React. I have an idea. Cough one time, but you know what I'm gonna do? I need to go get some water. And technically, I can only be here for like another 10 minutes, but I'll be right back. I'm gonna get some water. Play the drop game while I'm gone. Okay. I thought the screen turned off again for a second, but we're back. Yeah. Why is Adobe asking to change a password? Make sure that that email is actually from Adobe, and don't click any links in it. We're gonna keep the drop game on just because. Why not? You know what we'll do? After I get this all set up, I could potentially do another stream where we do it again, but in a more streamlined fashion, and then we can edit it down and turn it into a video or something. I don't know. But Lonely Forest Cat, this is actually React. And what you're looking at is JSX, which is basically HTML inside of your JavaScript. But React initially invented this stuff. But basically, all of this code we have here in this file gets actually compiled into what's known as a render function, which is a function that will generate DOM elements based on the state in the application. Yeah, it's a whole thing. But, oh yeah, so where are we at? We just installed Easy Peasy. And my terminal is yelling. So now let's set up our global store. So here in source, I'm going to create a new folder called store. We're going to create an index.tsx in here. And this is where we can set up our Easy Peasy store. Now, if you looked at the Easy Peasy site, you can just use this straight out of the box, like right in one single component. But in a larger application, it works extremely well as well. So I'm going to go to the TypeScript tutorial, and I'll show you how to set things up with TypeScript by typing things. So first, you need to actually define your store. You basically create interfaces that describe the data that's going to be in your store, and then you create a store model. So let's say we are building a guestbook. Our store is just going to have a list of all possible guestbook entries. It'll have a way to add a guestbook entry, and that's about it. So a store is, we're talking about state management. So when you have an application, you're going to have a lot of data associated with it. And should I click this link? I don't know why I'm just blindly clicking this link. You caught me off guard. What is this? Okay, there you go. It's funny. Learn to create a website. Add HTML to it. Add CSS to it. Add CSS to it. Yeah, it's funny. For example, we're creating a guestbook. So a guestbook is a place where people can just leave a message on your website, but there's a lot of data associated with that. So you have each guestbook entry has a name and it has some text. It has a time it was created. You have multiple of them, so it's like an array of them. When you add new ones, you need to take that and put it into the array. So state is the actual like data of your application, and this is a way of managing that. So let's define some interfaces. And I like to put those in a separate folder so that they're actually reusable. So I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call it interfaces. And inside of here, I'm going to create an interface called guestbook entry.ts. So this is going to describe what will be inside of a guestbook entry. Please, no foul language on this channel. So we're going to create an interface called Guestbook entry, and we're going to describe all the properties of a guestbook entry. Watch your language. Watch your profanity. Intergates. So a guestbook entry will have a name, which is a string. Oh, that's not how that works. A string name, like that. Lowercase string, capital string. What's happening? How do interfaces work? Not like that. Like this. Name is a string, please. There we go. And then lowercase. Okay. Whew. We figured it out. So a guestbook entry has a name. Thank you, Mattia. Native types are lowercase. That's good to know. So name is a string, and then we'll call it like their content, which is also a string. So this is what they actually type into the guestbook entry. And then we'll have submitted, which is going to be a date. Capital date. That should work. So an interface just describes describes an object. So it describes the properties that are going to be on an object. And if you think about it, when we type into a form, it's going to need these three things, right? It's going to need the name of the person, the content, and then it's going to need a date that gets added to it as when that entry was submitted. And we're basically we're describing a blueprint. Not really a blueprint. We're describing some rules around those entries. So that's a guestbook entry. And then let's create another interface. Let's call it guestbook list. Do we need that? No. I think that's almost enough. But one thing we'll do is we'll also define the guestbook store. And this is actually going to describe how we can interact with the store that manages these guestbook entry types. And thanks for the follow, Lonely Forest Cat. Welcome to the show. Date is not an interface. Date is a type in this case. So in this case, date represents the date type. And we're saying that submitted must be a date type. It represents the date constructor. So yeah. Kapow! All right, so let's look at their TypeScript tutorial that describes how we do it. And so not actually guestbook entry store. We want the guestbook entry model, because the model describes how the store works, and then we're just going to have a general store interface in here. So let's call this guestbook store.typescript. All right, but the model will have an array of guestbook entries. So we'll say guest interface guestbook. Oh, I put an extra period on there somehow. There you go. Guestbook model. And the guestbook model will have entries, which are an array of guestbook entry. And you can see, it's like, hey, do you want to import this? Yes, I do. Well, no, I don't. Well, an array of them. Did it import it? It didn't import it. What's happening? Well, it should have imported it. Let's try that again. Guestbook entry. Ah, it didn't import it. Okay, but we want to import guestbook entry from that file, guestbook entry. Oh, I know why, because we didn't export it. So in guestbook entry, we actually need to export the interface so that it can be used in the other file. So in here, we import the guestbook entry. You know what? Es Lint does not like... Es Lint does not like our TS extension. Regardless, so our model has entries, which is an array of guestbook entries. Cool. And you can see how they describe some models here. So like the to-dos model has an array of items, which are a string. So that's great. But now we need actually to create a typed store. Let's see real quick. I have to actually add a type. I complained about that earlier. Yeah, now it's like... Cannot... You know what? I'm getting mad. I need to fix this error. Es Lint import TS files. Hello, Danielle. We're trying to set up a React app, and I'm showing like all the things I used to do that. Is it import/extensions that's giving the error? Import, no, all right, we're gonna try this because that error is really annoying, and we're seeing it everywhere. I haven't had to do this before, but we'll see. Whoa. That did not work. Yeah. Oh well. I actually kind of have to go. I think I'm gonna come back. So I have to go to stand up for work. But I'll probably come back for another like 15 or 20 minutes just so we can at least get this app going. I'll push it up, but then later today I can come back and we'll finish setting everything up because not stand-up comedy, JavaScript tooling, yeah. So we have our model. Oh yeah, and then we do need a store model. So I'll just do this really quick. So the Guestbook model has an array of entries, and the Guestbook store, we'll say export interface Guestbook store, is going to have entries which follows, well, we'll just call this the Guestbook, and this follows the Guestbook model, like that. Okay, so we have our interfaces set up. The cool thing about this is we can actually create typed hooks, and this is one of the things I really like about using this library in conjunction with TypeScript, is you can create hooks like use store state, and because we're typing all of the possible values in here and actions and things like that, you get really good autocomplete and type suggestion whenever you're actually using these hooks, which is pretty sweet. We need to create these typed hooks. I'll create another directory called hooks where all this stuff is going to live. Let's just call it index.ts. So we need to import the model, which is going to come from, go up a directory, go into interfaces, and grab the Guestbook store. We'll just say Guestbook store, and we'll say we want the typed hooks for to be of type Guestbook store, and then we'll export them. And this is complaining about use object destructuring. I don't want to. So really quick before I go, one of the things you can do with when you're using TypeScript is if there's an error or like a type error, I believe this is actually a linting error. Okay, we can just disable the linting error. Es Lint disable that's wrong. Prefer destructuring. There we go. So it doesn't complain about that. Linting error just, well, like, it's really hard to fix that one while also doing an export. I don't know the syntax for it, but it's weird. Oh yeah, and then all of these need to be default exports. So export default interface Guestbook store, export default interface Guestbook model, export default interface Guestbook entry. So I don't need it. No, I don't need that. I need that. Why is this complaining? Missing semicolon? You need a semicolon on an interface? Unnecessary semicolon. Just tell me what you want, Es Lint. Can't make up your mind. Okay, but a quick recap is we created a couple of interfaces. Just get rid of Airbnb. I don't know. I prefer it. Yeah. All right. Guestbook entry is an interface that describes the entry. Guestbook model describes the model itself, which is an array of entries. And then the store is going to describe all of our possible modules in the application. So in this case, we just have one module called Guestbook, but we could potentially have lots of different models for different parts of the store. We created our typed hooks, and when I come back, we'll use these hooks to actually get data from the store and do different things like that. But I gotta go. I'll be back in no more than 15 minutes. It could actually end up being like 30 minutes, but hopefully it's not. It should be quick. I'll be back. We'll do like 20 minutes of coding, and then I'll be back later this evening to finish more stuff. But while I'm away, feel free to play the drop game, be nice to each other, and I'll see you soon. Hello, friends. I'm back. And my screen keeps flickering. I don't like it. But some people stuck around, so that's fun. We are currently working on configuring an application with TypeScript and a lot of other dependencies. It's really all just set up. But let's see if I missed anything. Definitely missed some follows. And thanks for the follow, ETN. Welcome. Join the Discord. All right, we're gonna disable the drop game. Yeah, I had to go to stand up. Hello, Conrad. Hello, Joe Mama. You just... Sorry, Stu Camp. Sorry about that. All right, we're back. And one thing I did while I was away is I uploaded my Es Lint config. Oh, that's spelled wrong. And all of my dependencies from one of my current projects at work. So we can compare. And one thing that I found was instead of extending Airbnb in our Es Lint, we extend Airbnb TypeScript. I have a feeling that's gonna fix a lot of things. So let's do that. Yeah, and I think we do this, and then instead of extending Prettier, we just use the Prettier plugin. So that's the plan. All right, so if we look at what I had in here, I had Es Lint recommended, React recommended, TypeScript Es Lint recommended. So we are going to use TypeScript Es Lint recommended. We're just going to use recommended and recommended type checking. So I'm going to get rid of all these, and we're going to do that instead. This is the config that works for me. And then plugins, we have TypeScript Es Lint. I'm going to get rid of the React plugin. I guess I don't even have the Prettier plugin? What? Oh yeah, and let me set up the live share again so you all can see my codes. So this is coming in the chat. If you go here and you have VS Code, you'll be able to see all of my code as I type and things like that. Yeah, cool. So that's good to go. And then I have certain rules disabled. JSX file. Yeah, so what I ended up doing is just disabling that rule altogether in my local setup rather than telling that. So failed to load Airbnb TypeScript. The other thing I have is all of my dev dependencies. And so we also need to install ESLint config Airbnb TypeScript, which we don't have. So if we look at our package JSON, we have ESLint config Airbnb, but we need to add the TypeScript thing as well as a dev dependency so that we can use the Airbnb rules for TypeScript. I'll just use this config from now on. Yeah. Cool. So that's better. And if we look at like this, failed to apply ESLint document. Okay. I'm gonna see if I'm missing any other dependencies. So we need the ESLint plugin. We have that. We have the parser. We have ESLint. We have config Airbnb. Airbnb TypeScript. We do have Prettier. Interesting. We don't have Oh no, there's ESLint plugin React. Then we have Prettier. Hello, Ashwin. Yeah, we're trying to do TypeScript. And then let me just look at my general dependencies, because I have testing library, types for Jest, Node, React, React DOM, React Router DOM. I don't know why I have Redux types installed, but we do. And then let's look at our TS config. So the TS config is for configuring TypeScript. Let's see if we have anything different in here. All that looks the same. We're telling it to include source. Okay, that looks good to me. All right, let's see what is happening? And so we go in here. Nice. Okay. I think this we've done it. So if we look at Guestbook model, it's export default Guestbook model. So it's exporting the default thing. And then in here, comma expected? What are you talking about? And then we can look at, you know what? I think it's, I think it's the fact that I have prettier going as well, but let's see. Okay, this one's not complaining. This one's good. We have export default, export default. Really, I thought about this, and this really needs to just be named store instead of Guestbook store. That. Okay, it has stopped complaining. However, why isn't it complaining about the double quotes? This should definitely be an issue. It's not complaining about anything. I think Es Lint is just off now. That's unfortunate. But we renamed that to store, and then in here, oh, we haven't imported it yet. I thought we did. What's happening? Yeah, I'm about to show you what all of that is for. So the store interface describes the store, and then here we're actually going to implement it. So interfaces are all about description, like describing what you're going to code, and the actual implementation adheres to this interface. So we're about to get that going. However, I'm really sad about the things we have going on. Okay, cool. So yeah, the jest test is failing because when we're testing this thing, technically it doesn't have a router on it. Okay, here's what I want to do though. I want to just run Es Lint in the terminal and see if we get any output. So run it on source. You can do npx Es Lint source. Just delete the test files. No, we're gonna have basic tests. So no files found because we need to tell it to look at TS and TSX files. Es Lint TS files. There's an option on the command line. Wait, that's not it. A pizza maker game? We ended up just making a word guessing game. So if you go here, you can join a team and just start guessing a word. We didn't get to the garden theme or any of the extra features, but we do have a basic word guessing game that you can play. Okay, so we did that. Enabling the validation. There's a command line option to tell it what files you want to check. Interesting. Oh, here we go. -- extension. So this tells it what files we want to lint. So I'm going to try that. Let's go. Error while loading rule. TypeScript Es Lint await venable. You have used a rule which requires parser services to be generated. You must therefore provide a value for parser options.project for TypeScript Es Lint parser. Okay, so if we look at parser options, we do have parser. We don't have parser options. Let me look at my lint file that was here. Here we go. We need to tell it to look at the TS config. So I have other options, but for now, we do need to just say, hey, project is there. That should link the two up. So now Es Lint knows how to talk to TypeScript. And it worked. It worked. It worked. Okay, yeah, now this should be complaining about double quotes. Cool. And so if we like format the document, tell it to use prettier, that works beautifully. Okay, we're good to go. Now, Ed is saying, not very great first impressions for TypeScript. The thing is, once you've set it all up, it works great. But the trick, it doesn't work. No, the trick is getting the setup. And once you have the setup, really you could reuse this. So this Es Lint file, this prettier file, this tsconfig, all of these things are working together to allow us to have a decent time. And now that we have that working, we probably could extend prettier. I'm not going to, though. It's working fine. Cool. So we have our guestbook entry. We have our guestbook model, which is an array of entries. We have our store. Now it's time to implement the store. That's not fair. It's not even TypeScript. What do you mean? Oh, yeah, because the code we've written so far, I mean, these interfaces are, but the main issue we were having with it was like the Es Lint setup. Yeah, let's actually call this store. I mean, technically, I think it wants us to call that store model, but regardless. Okay, so we have our hooks set up, which are automatically typing them. We do need to set up our base store. So let's, close all this. People are playing the game, though. I actually created a bot to guess letters, and that's why these scores are so high. So I created 2 bots that were battling each other. I was bored. But yeah. Okay, so we have that. And now we can actually use it. So let's just follow the tutorial. Creating your store. So you have like some data, you have your model. Are you laughing at the fact that I made a bot? Made a bot for my own game. I don't know. So bring in the model, create the store. Why is this so hard? I feel like this was so much easier when I set this up the first time. We're not creating an online store. We're creating a store for our data. But for those of you that are just joining, let's recap. Let's recap the point of the stream. Let's recap what we've done so far. What I at least want to get working is the store. So we're going to have some basic data in the store. We'll get some data out of the store, show it in the UI. I think that's a good place to stop for now. And then this evening, we'll finish the app. We'll make sure that everything is working together, all that good stuff. But let's do the recap. So the point of this stream was to show you how I have set up a React plus TypeScript plus hooks application. So initially we did create React app. And actually, I'll share a link in the chat right quick. TypeScript Garden. So if you have VS Code, you can join this live share session, and you can see all of the code that I've written and all the code that I'm walking through right now. So we created a React app. First thing we did was set up Es Lint. We had some issues with that, but ultimately, we're setting up Es Lint to work in conjunction with TypeScript. And also we're using the prettier plugin. So there's a lot of moving parts here. So we set up Es Lint. We have a basic prettier RC, and then we got our app going. So in our main file here, we also installed React Router DOM. We had a lot of issues with that. But we installed React Router DOM, which is a routing library. We're wrapping our app in a browser router. And part of this setup as well was installing typings. So if you look in our package JSON, there are quite a few types libraries, and all of these types libraries work in conjunction with the corresponding npm module to provide TypeScript typings and TypeScript support for those libraries. So we installed React Router DOM, but we also needed to install types React Router DOM. And that allows TypeScript to know what are these things that we're importing and using and such and things like that. So we have our basic router going. If we look at our app component, we can see that it's using TypeScript. So this is a functional component, and we're saying that it is of type functional component. One thing we also did was set up Material UI. So we're importing components from Material UI to be able to use in our app component here. And then we also did some basic routing right here. So we have links, we have a switch. Let's start up this app, and I can show you what we have so far. Failed to compile. All files must be modules when the isolate modules flag is provided. What? Oh, I see. Because there's nothing in here. It was an empty file. TypeScript did not like that. I don't think we're importing the store anywhere. Yeah, it's because of this empty file. We need to fix that. Though, do we really have to restart the tool? So to fix it for now, all I did was just export an empty object. Later on, we'll fill that in. Yeah, so that fixed it, which is weird. But we have this basic app. It has a nav bar. We have some routing here so we can switch back and forth. And then we also set up styles and style hooks. So part of Material UI is this function called makeStyles, which will actually create a hook for you that allows you to use styles in your components, and it generates classes dynamically. And you can override the styles of any material components that you use. So we're using makeStyles. We pass in an object with all of our classes, our CSS classes. So we have a CSS class called root, a CSS class called title. And then in here, we import it in. And this actually gives us a hook. It gives us a hook called useStyles, which creates an object of all the class names. And then we can use those class names in our component. So we have classes.root, classes.title. And so there's that. So we've got Es Lint. We've got Prettier. We've got React Router DOM. We've got Material UI. And the last thing is Easy Peasy. So Easy Peasy is our state management. You can check it out at easy-peasy.now.sh. This is a state management library. It's essentially a replacement for Redux. You can do all the same things you used to do with Redux, but this provides hooks. One thing I didn't mention earlier is it has, when you are creating actions that modify state, or things that modify state, you can actually modify state directly, and under the hood, it automatically creates a new object with those new values. So if you're used to using just bare React or bare Redux, typically you have to create a copy of the state, update the properties that you need to, and then apply it. Whereas with Easy Peasy, you could just modify it directly, and it automatically figures out what the changes are and then fires off an action with those changes. Excuse me. Drop game is disabled. And we just mentioned styles.ts. So, and this has to do with Material UI. So if you look at Material UI, it talks about how they have a styling system and how you can override things. And so this file basically exports an object with properties on it, and these properties will become class names. So you can see we have root and we have title, and then in here we're putting it on the class name like classes.root and classes.title. And if you look at the actual page that's rendered, those are generated class names. So if we look right here at title, you can see it says makeStyles-title. So it's not adding like any inline styles. It's actually generating class names and then applying those to the elements. And then we can see that makeStyles-title has flexguro1. So this CSS class actually got generated based on the CSS that we defined in the file here. Cool. And one of the nice things about this is that it's completely and totally typed. So if I say classes dot, you can see that TypeScript is suggesting these are the possible classes that you have access to. So root and title are ones that have been defined. So if I ever try to use something that that wasn't defined or hasn't been used, it's going to yell at me for that. Now we're on to the store. So we're using Easy Peasy, and first we're setting up our interfaces. So we're going to build a basic app that has guestbook entries. So you can add a guestbook entry, and you can list all guestbook entries. So right now, we have an interface called guestbook entry. If you're new to TypeScript, an interface is just a description. So this is all the possible properties that a guestbook entry can have, and think of each guestbook entry is going to be an object in an array or something like that, and they all have name, content, and submitted. And then our model represents the overall store itself, so it has entries, which is an array of guestbook entry. And then our store represents all possible modules. So right now, the app is super basic. It really just has the guestbook section of the app. But what's cool is this can get much more complicated in that you have multiple different sections of your application that each need their own specific store with their own state and their own actions. And you would just add those as new properties here and create new interfaces for them. And that's like modules in Redux. So in Redux, you can basically do like a compose store where you pass in multiple reducers. This is a similar idea, but basically each reducer or each store would be a different property on this interface. And that's another thing to mention, Mahidra. Interfaces are they're similar to prop types. There are some technical differences, but because we're using TypeScript on our components, if they ever accept props, we can actually just define those prop types in an interface instead of having to do like component.proptypes. So yeah. And hello, Katoli. It's going pretty good. All right, so let's get the store hooked up. So now in index in here, we need to create the store. So up here, let's import create store from easy peasy. And then we're going to need to create like a base store. So I'm going to say, and actually, I don't want to import it from easy peasy. Maybe I do. I think I do. And then I'm going to do export default, create store, and I get to pass in my initial model. And right now it doesn't care about anything, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to type this store to be the type of this interface called store. So we'll import that interface. Let's import store from interfaces/store. And in TypeScript, you can basically type a thing. So these are known as generics, but basically if we look at the implementation for create store, it uses generics in that the store model must then adhere to a certain interface that you pass in. So because I'm going to pass in this interface right here, I'm going to say we're going to create a store that is of type store. Now we get type errors. So what this is saying is this empty object is not assignable to this interface because this interface says the object should have a property called guestbook, which is a guestbook model, right? So we need to do that. Right here, let's create a new file, and we're going to call this guestbook store. Or do we call it guestbook model? I got to figure out the name so this isn't too confusing. So we have, let's just call it guestbook. So this is going to implement our guestbook model, right? So we're going to create an object. We'll just call it guestbook, and we're going to make this the default export. So export default guestbook. That's going to be equal to an object. Why is this complaining? Well, let's do this. We'll do it on a separate line. So we have this object called guestbook. Yeah. And it is going to implement the guestbook model interface. So let's do this. We're going to import the guestbook model interface. I'm thinking really I should probably put interface in the name of the file, but regardless, I'm going to say guestbook implements guestbook model. So we're going to implement that interface. And now we're saying entries must be a type. So I'm going to say entries is initially just an empty array. So there are no guestbook entries in here. Why is this complaining? File must be included. That's fine. I think that's fine. Yeah, so it's a good question, Ed. I kind of talked about it earlier when Mahidra asked about prop types, but basically, instead of saying like component.prop types, you define an interface that describes your prop types, and then you make your component implement that interface. So you still, at the end of the day, the result is the same. You get prop type validation, but you do it with interfaces instead. There's a lot of complaining with TypeScript. Yeah, you just got to do it right. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to say store is an object with a guestbook property. And guestbook is going to be this thing, guestbook, that I import from that that file right there. So I'm going to import guestbook from guestbook. And we're going to say guestbook is guestbook. And we're going to say store implements the store interface. And now, instead of passing in this empty object, we're going to pass in that store object, which adheres to the store interface. Okay, so we have our store, which has a guestbook. At this point, this is a object that has an entries property. Hopefully, we can get rid of that TypeScript error. I don't know why that's popping up. Yeah, so it's gone. Okay. This is our guestbook, which just has an array of entries. And this is kind of like our initial state, right? We're actually implementing it, and we're describing our initial state. And for now, let's just put like one guestbook entry. This should be complaining because this needs to be of type guestbook entry. So it's saying you need like a name. So my name is CJ. And then what else do you need? You need a... so it says we're missing the following properties from type guestbook entry. Content and submitted. So the content is hello world, and submitted is going to be just a new date, like that. So think of this like our initial state. When our application first starts up, this is the data we have associated with it. Once this gets more complex, we'll be contacting an API to get the initial entries. We're going to need to add actions for adding new entries, all that good stuff. But for now, we have a super basic store that just is an array of entries. We then have a global store. And again, you could think of this kind of like your compose in Redux, where you have different modules. Because I could also have like admin, and that implements, or that has an initial admin store. And I could also have, what else? What are other parts of the application? Like settings. And that implements the settings store. Don't do that. But the way to think about this is like store is your main wrapper with multiple store modules inside of it. Yeah, I did not mean audio completion. Okay, so we have our basic store set up. It's right now it's a little useless because all it is just a single array with an object inside of it. But it'll be more useful later when we're adding new things to it and stuff like that. But now let's do this. Inside of our component, I want to get access to this array of entries, and I want to show it inside of the component. Right here, we've defined our store. We're exporting our default store. So there is a top-level component that you need to add, which will actually allow you to use the store. So a store provider. So at our top level, we're using router. Eventually, we might use theme provider from Material UI. Right here, we're going to use store provider as well. So if we go to our app.js, well, not our app, we'll go to our index, which is bringing all of these things in. We're going to import store provider from Easy Peasy. Easy peasy. And then we need to wrap our entire application in a store provider. And then we need to provide the initial store. And the initial store is the thing that we defined in this file, right? Because we're creating the store. Like, this is the actual store. It's not just the interface. It's the actual implementation. And we're exporting that there so we can use this exported thing in this file. So I'm going to import the store from, should be able to get it from store, like that. And on the store provider, we can say store equals store, just like that. What is this complaining about? Identifier expected. Let's go to the tutorial real quick. So we've created our store. We created our typed hooks. And yeah, so Easy Peasy is a library. You can install it from npm. And you can think of it like a modern replacement for Redux. Let's see. Connecting the store. Yeah. Store provider, store equals store. I should do it, right? Yeah, my TypeScript is behind. Things start happening and then the errors don't go away. Sorry, no, my Es Lint is behind. But okay. That should have done it. So now, any component in my application, anywhere, can connect to the store and get the data out of it. So what I want to do now is I want to go into the store, go into the guestbook, and grab this array of entries. And I want to do that in my main app component. So we will do that right here. What I need to do is import the hook, which will allow me and give me access to the store. So you can see in our hooks, we created these typed hooks that implement our store. And the cool thing about this is we now have a React hook that will know that we have a store model that has a guestbook property, that has an entries property, by importing the use store state function, which we defined here. Expected indentation of 0 spaces, but found 11. What? Oh, well, I don't care that much. But what we're going to do is we're going to import use store state from that file right here in our app component. So right about here, we're going to say import use store state. And we're going to import that from, go up a directory, go into hooks. Actually go up 2 directories and go and grab the hooks index. Use store state is declared, but its value is never read. And now we'll get to use it. So right here, I'm going to say entries equals use store state. So we get access to the state, and then I should get completion. So if I say state dot guestbook, you can see that it has a guestbook property. And guestbook has an entries property, so we're going to get access to that. Let's just like close and reopen the file. Es Lint is it's bad. Okay. I might have fixed the typo, or the autocomplete might have fixed the typo. And thanks for the follow, Nemer Baton. Welcome to the show. Thanks for the YouTube sub, Jimmy. I might have missed some other follows and subs, but yeah. In tires. Oh, right here, I see. Yeah, that's totally fine. Entries. Cool. But this hook that we just imported has access to the global state. It has access to any submodule and then to any property on that submodule. So this is actually going to take that array, which is defined in the main store, and we're going to pull it into this variable called entries here. I wouldn't use the spread operator. You could technically use destructuring if you really wanted to. Like, one thing you could do is you could destructure it, and then this function would just need to return the entire guestbook. I don't know where we're getting that error, but basically, because I only need that one property from the store, I'm just going to import it like that. And let's just log the entries in the component, see what we get. And so we should see an array of length 1 with that entry inside of it. So all of this to just get a basic array. But what's pretty nice, now that we're all set up, we can actually use like actions and thunks and do more complex things. So instead of just getting an array, when the application loads, we could get we could request the array from an API, something like that. But for now, let's just show those entries on the page. I'm actually going to, yeah, we want to get rid of news and a button. The button here, we'll just say home, and then we'll add another button for about. We'll get rid of the links here. And then we have our switch. So here's what I'm going to do. For the home page, I'm going to create a separate component. We're going to connect to the store and show all of the entries. Component equals home. And then we'll need to get that going. But we do need to create a home component. So in the components directory, I'm going to create a new folder called home. And then inside of home, I'm going to create a new file, index.tsx. This is going to be our basic home component. We need to implement a basic component like this. So we're going to import React. Oh, interesting. Console log is CLG. Okay. We'll export default home, and we'll call this, no, don't do homedir. We'll call this home for the component itself. So we're implementing a functional component called home, and for now, we're just going to return like an H1 that says home. Okay. Why is this complaining? I hate it. I hate it. Yeah. What? I guess because it's not being used anywhere. I don't know. But now in our app component, we can actually import in that home component. So it should be complaining like right here. What is this? No code actions available. All right, let's import the home component manually. Import home from the go up a directory and grab home like that. And why is this complaining? Oh geez. It should stop. Like it could be the fact that I have like a shared session going. I don't know, but Es Lint is not at all behaving. Unexpected block statement surrounding arrow body. Oh, yeah, that makes sense, because right now, there's no, like, hooks or anything like that. So it's complaining that this is that. There we go. All right, it stopped complaining. And now, expected a colon in app index tx. What? Come on. There's a semicolon right there. Wait. The app just crashed because of a missing semicolon? Okay. Well, apparently the entire Webpack dev server went down. Okay. There we go. We're back. Can we go home? Can we go to, oh, no. So we need to turn these into links really quick. So this button, by default, material UI, they're buttons. You can add a to property. And, well, you might have to set the component, but I want this to go to slash and this to go to slash about. It's complaining now because it says, okay, this is the thing. TypeScript errors can be very serious, like this. this is very serious. I could share the server. I'm gonna stop streaming in like 5 minutes. But this error we just got is basically saying, and let's find what it actually is saying. Here it is, all the way at the end of this big long error. Property 2 does not exist on type intrinsic attributes. Meaning, it doesn't know what to do with this 2 property. However, and also you see this other error, property component is missing. So what we have to do is we're missing the component property, and we need to set that to be link. So basically what I need to do is I'm turning this button into a link component, which comes from React Router DOM. And in that way, now because it has a link, it can have a 2 property. And that should fix it. There we go. And if we click home, we go home. If we click about, we get about. Last thing I'll do before I go is we want to show the entries on the home page. So let's just do that with like a nice little card. So we're going to have layout and then not layout, surfaces, card. Yeah, it'll be like a basic little card with a title, content, and like a date thingy. So you have card, card content, card actions. That's good enough. And thanks for the follow, Yusuf. Much appreciated. To be clear, like a lot of the errors that I'm running into are more of like an Es Lint and a VS Code issue. Like they're just not updating fast enough. It's not an ideal experience, but that shouldn't be confused with TypeScript, which is, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff happening basically. Okay, so now actually inside of this component, I'm not going to get entries anymore. I'm going to use that same hook, but we're going to use that hook inside of our home component to get access to the entries. And so this is what's nice about like a global store, is that you can access the store from pretty much any component. Now, sometimes it makes sense to access the component in like access the store in a parent component and pass it down. But you can think of home as being like a top level component in trees. We're going to use store state. We get access to the state. And we'll say state.guestbook.entries, like that. And now we'll just repeat over the entries. And so that's one thing to mention. Like now using this hook, I can access that global state from any component, anywhere in my app. So we want some cards and we want to repeat them. Actually, we might do like a flex layout or something, or we could do paper. I think paper is like usually what you use as the component. Yeah. We could also just do a div. Let's just do a div. So we have a div. We want to define a bunch of cards. I do want to auto import it from Material UI. Excuse me. So we have a card, not a car, a card. Then we want card content. We're also going to import that from Material UI. And inside of here, we want probably some typography. Also going to import that. Just going to say hello world. Let's see if this works. Come on. Wait, did it? Okay, it should be good. Yeah. Okay, so now we get a nice little card. It says hello world. But now we actually want to repeat over the entries and show each of them inside of this card. So right here, I'm just going to say entries.map. We get access to the entry. We are then going to return some JSX, which is this. And right here, I think I can say variant. Yeah, variant. Let's do like an H2. And right here, we're going to put entry.name. Why is this complaining? The cool thing is, again, we do get autocomplete. So if I say entry dot it tells me these are the 3 properties that we have: content, name, and submitted. But you want to show name. And then we'll have more typography right here. The variant will be body1. And we'll show entry.content. And then we'll just have like a small down here that shows entry.submitted. Like that. Type checking, compiling. Oh my goodness. Objects are not valid as a React child. Let's see where this happened. Oh, I need to return. Thank you. Oh no, I have it wrapped in parens, so this should be an automatic return. I mean, this technically does the same thing. I shouldn't need to return it because it's inside of curly braces. All right, let's see. Oh, small. It doesn't like. Oh, I see. Entry.submitted is a date. And I need to convert it. I needed to say like to, and what's nice is it knows that it's a date, so I could do like to ISO string, or I could do .to locale date string, something like that. That's why that was an object. There we go. I think I wonder if typography has a small variant. Let's see. If we look at variants, no, not that. Stop yelling. What are you doing? Variant. Caption. Subtitle? Let's go with subtitle. I like that. Yeah, and the thing to think about is basically, because of those interfaces I defined, Guestbook entry has a submitted property which is of type date, and because we define it to have type date, it knows all of the properties available on type date. Probably use caption variant. Cool. So these are all our Guestbook entries. We only have one. I do have to go though. And this is like basic setup. I'll push this to GitHub. This afternoon we'll code on it more and we can talk more about how all these things relate. And in the future, I can do like a proper video on setup instead of stumbling over everything, because we did a lot of stumbling today. But that's okay. We did a lot of learning along the way as well. I love you a lot, but I hate React. Thanks for review. It helped me a lot. Hey, you're very welcome, Osama. Yeah, React is not that great, but, you know, we're doing what we can. And so the thing is, we're not actually persisting any data. Like, this is all front-end code. So if we were to push stuff into the store and we refresh the page, the data would go away. Unless we saved it in like local storage, but even then it's only available in our browser. That actually is another thing that's nice about Easy Peasy, is it supports hydration, persistent state by default. So what you can do is you set up your state to automatically save to local storage, and then when you refresh the page, it will automatically load the state from local storage. But there's a lot more we can do here. Basically, we want to add actions for inserting a new entry. We want to add actions for getting those entries from an API. We want to add actions for posting entries to an API and then listing them back out here. There's a lot more that we need to do in the store to make this like a real full-fledged app. But we have the basics. And technically, you could create actions. So this is a challenge for you, the viewer. So anyone that followed along, and I am going to push this code up so you could start adding to it. If you look in the Easy Peasy docs and you look at the TypeScript tutorial, go to adding typed actions, and you can see in their example, they have add to do. And this is an action which implements the to-dos model and takes in a string. So what you could do is in our Guestbook model, you could add an action called add entry. Add entry is going to be an action of type Guestbook model that takes in a Guestbook entry. So instead of taking in a string, it takes in a Guestbook entry. And then when you implement it, so you would have to implement an action called add to do, you would implement that in this file, guestbook.ts. Down here, we would create a function called add entry. It would follow a similar pattern to this, where you have the state and the payload. You modify the state, and then you could use the action. So this is an exercise for the reader. We're gonna do this tonight when I come back. But if those of you wanna try to think ahead, and also this is also an exercise in like learning from the docs rather than watching me do it, you could try to do that. But I'm gonna go. I gotta go to work. Thanks for the good luck, Ed. And yeah, I think Pranjal, you asked about mirroring two GitHub branches. I've never heard that term. It is possible to like create a branch from a different branch, and now they're exactly the same commits. If that's what you mean, I don't really know. And thanks for the follow, Forsaken. Is it possible to enable hydration on a few properties of the store? Yeah, so if you look in there, I think it's recipes, or no, API, utils, no. It's in here somewhere. Oh, here we go. Models persist. They have a whole bunch of docs on persist, and it's possible to only choose specific properties to persist to local storage. So you can check that out. Yeah. All right, I gotta go. I will push this code to GitHub. I'll put the link in the description, and I'll throw it on Discord. So if you're not in our Discord and you want the link, feel free to join. Have a great day. Hydration means giving it its initial value. So right now, the data is coming from the store, which has this object in it. But really, in the real world, you would write your code like this. Like the app starts out with an empty array. And the page is just totally blank. So we would need a way to get that data in. And by hydrating it from local storage, we could basically say if the store ever changes, save that data locally in the browser. And then when the page loads, load it from there. Cool. Code Lawyer is saying, do you consider using React Select in the following codes? I didn't plan on it, but Material UI does have a way of integrating with React Select. If you look at their inputs and you look at select, there's a way to customize the underlying select control, so that's a possibility. All right, we got a raid. Thanks everyone for hanging out with me through all the technical difficulties and code difficulties. It was still pretty fun. So if you're watching on YouTube, head on over to Twitch land right here, and we're gonna find another coding channel to raid. I gotta leave, Divakar. I didn't see a thing. Is there a chance on making a complete course on React Review? Yeah, in the future. Not really anytime soon. I haven't planned it yet, but that's the ultimate goal. All right, let's find someone to raid. Web development. Gumi sucks at programming and is working on Laravel and Vue. What else? What else is going on? That's me. Look at me. Adam is a really popular live coder, and we've rated the Alt F4 stream before. Let's see if there's anybody else on the live coders team. There's Lana. What is Zeratar doing? Rainfall Dev. It looks like JavaScript. Oh no, it's C#. Nothing wrong with that. Full Stack Live is working on Ruby on Rails. That's interesting. Flav Creations. First day back from the holidays. could possibly raid Ravenfall. Oh, they're working on a Unity game. That sounds interesting. We'll raid Zeratar. Cool. Yeah. So like I mentioned, if you're on YouTube, head on over to Twitch. We're gonna do a raid. I do plan to stream this evening, probably 8 hours from now. So if you're still awake, or you're gonna go to sleep now and wake up then, feel free to tune in. Just watch the channel for that. Why, when I think of C# devs, do I think of Kevin from The Office? That's like a major diss, isn't it? Oh yeah, and this is our raid message. So if you join us in the raid, send this message, share the coding garden love. So copy and paste that. Oh yeah, I need a raid command, huh? To share the raid message. Cool. Alrighty, everyone, wherever you are in the world, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night. Look at all these drops. Until next time, here's this.